Hello everyone, and welcome back to Void Door Studios, where I'm going to catch up on some news that's a bit old now. So I apologise that I wasn't able to do a play-by-play of the Warhammer Fest, which I did keep my eyes on, and the original plan was to do a video at the end of each day. But then I started thinking to myself, maybe it would be a good idea to go back and look at this all retrospectively. Because a lot of the releases at the time, some people were understandably upset about, and some of them I didn't actually think were that bad, honestly. So, with the benefit of hindsight and a little bit of distance, I thought I would go back through the newest releases from Games Workshops Warhammer Fest. Starting at day one, we were actually off to a pretty good start, as we had the release of Kragnos, and the last of the books. Kragnos I thought was a pretty cool release. He is a pretty awesome looking model. And it's about time Destruction started getting a bit more of a story, being more involved. As Destruction kind of has the problem of they just like to destroy things. They're not really in it for anyone. They'll potentially fight everyone, and, it's just anarchy and chaos. But not the kind of chaos that mutates you, necessarily. But having a godlike entity for the Destruction faction now, as Kragnos is quite the beast from what we can see of the few rules that have been made available to us, and the fact that he can basically say no to spells is quite the bump. And he can be given to any Destruction faction, so that's pretty awesome. And of course, we already knew about our vampire hunters and our new Toad and Slaneshi friends, who are introduced into the new book, but I am particularly excited about this. I'm slowly starting to collect a Sylvaneth army, and this guy interests me. Personally, I'd keep the flute straight rather than it becoming this weird-looking half-trumpet, half-flute thing, but I like him. He looks like an interesting character. And I'll be honest with you, those Slanesh models are so pretty. They are so pretty. And we already knew about good old Lord Croak and his amazing moisturizer that he's been using. But yeah, Kragnos being around is awesome, and we had the release of the vampires and their new units. And Lukavai, the mother of vampires, mother of nightmares, apologies, is an interesting model. I don't hate it. It's actually a pretty cool concept. This idea that she fought a Tzeentch, was it? A Tzeentch sorcerer, and during this fight she ends up being warped and formed into one of the creatures that she's killed or was fighting at the time, or something like that I've read. And it's an interesting concept. It's a little bit too weird for my taste. Personally, I'd rather have just a female vampire with really heavy armor and a sword mounted on whatever this creature was. But it's a cool idea. I'm not going to say it's not. It's at least unique, And the model itself is, of course, very pretty. Games Workshop are constantly getting better at this. And here's your bog standard Vengorian Lord for the Soulblight, who seem to have a bit of a fetish for turning themselves into half monster, half vampire creatures. I'd just rather a really heavily armoured vampire on a monster, personally, but hey-ho, I do like this new attempt for Games Workshop to put vampires in at least a bit of a different category, at least to try and make them a bit more unique. Our friend from the what was it now? The oh damn it, the box with the damn it, what was it called? Oh no. The city with all the vampires and undead and stuff like that. This guy, I like his model. I really like his model. And I mean, it helps that I do have a fondness for werewolves and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, I dig it. I dig it a lot. And his two little minions and the blood pouring into the cauldron, yeah, that's all kinds of pretty. That's actually a pretty cool model as well. I personally am a bit meh with the sort of Russian-Polish design choices that GW are making. But no, it's actually a really cool looking model, and yeah, nothing to complain about here. I like the idea that they're taking vampires into a different direction, trying to make them a bit more unique to Age of Sigmar. That's all pretty awesome. Oh, but the dire wolves. The dire wolves, I love these models. I think these are possibly some of the best. This is some of the best stuff GW's been coming out with for a while. I can't not little crow eating the back of the direwolf. I can't say anything bad about these direwolves. They are very, very pretty for undead rotting corpse balls. Then of course they've got a little video game, which I'm personally not that interested in, but hey ho. But then on to day 2, and day 2 was. Sorry, gentlemen. Day 2 was a bit contentious, I think. A lot of people were hoping for something that wasn't Imperium. I think people were getting a bit fed up of the Imperium always getting something new and nothing for the Xenos or the Chaos armies. However, I do have to say that I actually really, really like this model. I like that we have a High Lord who's actually involved in the fighting. I like that it's a Sister of Battle model. I actually quite like these funny walker things now. I was a bit umming and ahhing about them to begin with, but it makes a certain degree of sense, I suppose. Especially as they're being backed by the Ecclesiarchy, after all. The Ecclesiarchy is still one of the, if not possibly the, most wealthy faction in the Imperium. So the idea that they could have these little mini, what do you want to call them, like mini knights? Mini knights? that they can pilot it's not beyond the realms of possibility. And it's a very pretty model. I personally think it's a very pretty model. The banner, I love her face. Why are her eyes closed? Is she just like singing or praying or something? I don't know. It's quite funny. But again, very pretty models. Yeah, we already knew about you, the Dogmata. And we already knew about you. But we knew something about these ladies, the Celestin Sacrosancts. These were the ones where we saw a model with a halberd, which I thought was really cool, but these ones all appear to have power mauls, which is all well and good, but personally I preferred the halberd. I like that you can see that they have a pistol behind the shield. That's pretty awesome. Oh, and I do like now knowing that you can give them plasma and flamers. That's always pretty cool. And of course the Paragon warsuits, which have already been featured. I think a lot of people were very angry with this particular upload because a lot of it is stuff we've seen already. And I don't blame anyone. I actually completely understand why you'd be miffed. I was a little bit meh about this release because as neat as it was to see all this Imperium stuff and Sister of Battle, like again, we've seen this before. I'm like 90% sure we've covered a lot of these in a previous video. And I think that's why people were so upset. Like, everyone's... Oh no. No. This is what made everyone upset. The Warzone Caradon book. Now, from the briefest amount of time I spent reading the comment section, and just seeing people generally talk about this on Facebook, people are very upset because rather than new codexes, we're still doing campaign books. Like, not even half of the factions in 9th edition of Warhammer 40k have an army book yet, have a codex. Which is completely ridiculous. And sticking updated sticking updated data sheets into campaign books is going to really upset people. Like, so many factions don't have their own codex, it's just laughable. Like, the poor Imperial Guard, like the poor Xenos players, the poor Chaos players, we're still using books from the previous edition. Which is frustrating, and as awesome as it is to have like a box with all this terrain in, which, you know, it's a nice set of terrain. I can't really talk too much about it. It's terrain, it's awesome. yeah, as great as all that is, GW really need to remove their finger from wherever they've stuck it and get on with making some codexes, because yeah, these people are getting really fed up of not having a proper codex for their army, and it's entirely understandable. Like, most of my armies are Space Marines, it's true, and I've got Orcs, which still don't have an army book yet. Well, they're going to have an army book soon, thanks to the release that's coming up in our next next page, I believe. It's sad, because I liked seeing the Sister of Battle stuff, but I was hoping for something new beyond the banner, which, again, everything we've seen here has already been talked about, except for the Sacrosanct. And the campaign book. And the campaign book really upset people. And I don't blame anyone at all. So, day 3, we get a new Gaunt's Ghost set of models, which, you know, as this is the Black Library Day, that's what the theme was, I'm pretty cool with it. Like, I haven't actually read all of the Ibram Gaunt books. I've flicked through a couple, but he seems like an interesting character, and the stories of the Tanith First and Only, again, seem to be quite cool. I personally don't think there's anything really wrong with the models. Like, personally, like, this guy's my favourite. I love how the Lasgun's got wooden stock and little bits of scroll work and stuff. It's just very pretty. And yeah, he's got a bit of a creepy, rapey face, but you know, yeah. And but yeah, to be honest, I can't really complain much about the models, besides the one guy with the weird, creepy. Oh, here we go. This guy looks awesome. Like, he makes me want to collect a Imperial Guard army just because he looks like a cool scout, which is basically what the Tanith First and Only actually do. But no, I actually think the models as a whole are pretty good. And there are some memorabilia bits and quite cool little nods to the Imperial Guard, which I'm quite fond of. Releasing new books or updating old books, and yeah, it's all book releases, which, you know, is awesome and all. But I swear I almost never get time to read books. When I do find the time, I'm always just going through Gotrek and Phoenix. I just have a fondness for rereading those books. And of course, a new Horus Heresy book, which is all about Jagati Khan taking on the Death Guard and preparing to retake Lionsgate Spaceport, which was a pivotal moment in the Horus Heresy. So that'd be pretty awesome. And there's some crime novels, which, again, pretty awesome for Warhammer 40k. Cadian Imperial Guardsman, still getting some new novels, and the Silent King. I think we really need more books about different regiments. Like, we need to do something different with the Cadian Imperial Guard, because they shouldn't really be GW's flagship Imperial Guard army anymore, because, you know, that planet doesn't exist, you know? Well, it does, technically, but it's basically a smouldering ruin, and last I heard, Fabius Bylil was doing all kinds of fun stuff on there, and, well, I don't think you want to be anywhere near whatever Fabius Bylil is playing around with. So this release was, I think, relatively well received, as it was already known to be a Black Library-based day. So, I mean, I couldn't complain too much about it. I'm very fond of the new models, except for you. You're creepy. Yeah, I personally didn't see anything too wrong with this particular day. And then, of course, we had the boxed games themselves. So Diachasm got a little update. The Deepkin, which I'd already figured from the symbol. And possibly the most popular model that I've been seeing memes for is this crab. I'm not going to lie, I can actually understand it. That crab is a very, very, very cool looking crab. And the fish too, personally. I'm quite fond of that fish. But yeah, the models themselves are pretty awesome. You can say a lot about Games Workshop, but their models on the whole are very, very pretty now. And the stylistic choices are just, faction based. And they're relatively easy to convert if you really dislike them. And of course, Necromunda got a new clan, the very, very pale-faced Dalik, with some new models. I do like these. They look like awesome assassins. Very, very cool. Plus random weird flying things. Of course, there was Necromunda Hired Gun, which was released for the relatively new computer game, and yeah, the new box set for the Aeronautica Imperialis, which is Space Marines vs. Eldar. I haven't really tried this game yet, I'll be honest, but I do love a Thunderhawk, and the Eldar fighters are always pretty cool looking. So, yeah. Just wish they'd bring one out in plastic I could fit a Space Marine inside. But, hey ho, this is a step up, I suppose. So again, it's an okay release. It's the box sets. The side games, they're not really necessarily as popular as the main games themselves, although I was hoping, foolishly perhaps, for Kill Team to get a little bit of love. Because I am a fan of Kill Team, and I do wanted to continue into 9th edition. So maybe GW will remember that's a thing and, update it perhaps? Who knows? And then day 5. Did I pause this one? Okay, good. Day 5 got me kind of excited. Because it was Orcs. The proper now release for the Beast Snaggers. You get their own little army box, and no real complaints here, honestly. I'm a little bit weirded out by the concept of squigs with 4 legs, if I'm honest. To me, in my brain, squigs are 2-legged, bounding, bouncy balls with teeth. But, mutations and funguses and mushrooms and whatever, it could be all kinds of forms, so yeah, I'm not going to complain about it. I do like this guy. And the idea that, you want to particularly ram things with this thing, then stick a big metal slab on its head and watch it crump its way through cars and other vehicles. And something I'm finding interesting with Beast Snaggers, they all seem to have a bit of a fetish for cybernetics and robotics. Not robotics, completely different thing. But cybernetics, definitely. And because that actually mirrors my orcs very much, as I have a Death Skull orc army that are very heavy into cybernetics, these models actually would suit them very, very well. So, yeah, I'm pretty cool with that. And this weird ass, this guy. I know he's based on a very, very, very old model, which hasn't been around for a while, but Zodgrod Wartsnagger is basically a buffed up runt herder for your Gretchen and can make them do more awesome things, I suppose. We shall find out when we actually get some rules for him. Then, of course, you have the actual stars of the show, the squigs themselves. Again, 4 legs I find really a bit off-putting, but as they're, I don't know, it's a new thing, it's a new mutation, I get it, it's fine. I do love this particular Gretchen with the wheel on the back of the squig and a little rocket pack strapped to its back. It's those little touches that make me smile with the orcs. Orcs are there to give you a little bit of humour in a relatively dark and unforgiving galaxy, and it's these little bits that do just make me smile. And of course, we do have an Orc Codex, which is incoming relatively soon. I just hope that it includes everything Orky. That's all I really want. Oh, and of course this guy made me so happy, because I have a load of Meganobs, and I'm so sick and tired of not having a war boss who can be in Meganob armour. For some reason, they cut him out of the last edition, and now they've stuck him in this edition. Which, I'm all happy with, because now we finally get one. And he will more than likely be one of my first Orky purchases, along with the army book. So, can't complain. He looks big, he looks awesome, he's got a Gretchen with a machine gun on top of his back, which is hilarious. Hopefully I can arm him with other things besides the massive chopper, which, it's fine, but I like power claws and I like guns, so we shall see. We'll see what you can have with this guy. Still pretty awesome. And, then we had this Cadian upgrade sprue. With essentially new heads and a few new guns. I think it was just heads and guns, wasn't it? Yeah, heads and guns. Now, they're just going to slip it into the Cadian box set, which is good. If you had to pay extra for this upgrade sprue, I'd be a bit irritated. I'd be very irritated, actually. But, I don't know. I feel like the poor Imperial Guard have not had an update in terms of their models for so long that it's just a bit frustrating, I think it's kind of about time that GW made a new Imperial Guard sprue. Just the whole model in general. I don't know. Maybe, or they make some plastic other Imperial Guard regiments, Because the poor Catachans haven't had an upgrade sprue in God knows how long. The Catachans are awesome. And I do like that some of the heads could be female. Quote unquote, could be female heads. Could being the right word. And I suppose it is nice that you can finally have a bolt gun with your sergeant when an Imperial Guard player actually decides to take a bolt gun with an Imperial Guardsman. So, the upgraded weapons, I'm a little disappointed, if I'm honest, with the Imperial Guard upgrade sprue thing. It's nice that there's a bit more variety in your units, because you do buy a ridiculous number of Guardsman models, and having a bit more variety keeps it from, driving you slowly insane. But I was just hoping for a new sprue, an entirely new sprue. But I suppose GW have decided that, for whatever reason, just keep it as it is. But hey-ho. And then, of course, there was the Psychic Storm, which I will show. Right, so that was very clearly and obviously a Grey Knight and Tzeentch Thousand Sun and a Zangor Sorcerer of some kind. I believe they're called Zangors. But, so we're going to get a Grey Knight Thousand Sun update at some point, and it looks like they're going to be in their own little battle box. So, that could be kind of neat. The Grey Knights haven't had an awful lot of love in a very long time. So, also they've been kind of absent, relatively speaking at least, for most of the story for Ninth. So, it'd be interesting to see what they've been up to during all this Warpy shenanigans. I mean, they're meant to be fighting demons after all. So, the fact that demons are now more populous than ever, you'd think that something would be going on. But, yeah, as for this day, again, a lot of people were just kind of meh, except for the orcs. I think people were disappointed with the Cadian Guard sprue on the whole, but the Orc release we're pretty happy with. I think most people were fairly happy with the Orcs. Obviously, stylistic choices aside, you don't have to buy the new battle box. I'm guessing these can be made into... I'm guessing these are your basic Orc boys. They look pretty big, actually. They look much bigger than the normal Orc boys. But I guess as they're beast snaggers, it kind of makes sense. But, you know, if you got them, you could easily convert them to... oh, come on, brain. You can convert them to knobs. Relatively easily, I would imagine. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the Orc release. This day was slightly more of an up for the majority of people, but the Cadian box people were a bit meh about, which is understandable. And then you have today, then you have this day, where we got to see the next edition of Age of Sigmar. It's a very awesome art. Say what you will about Age of Sigmar, the artwork is freaking gorgeous. And it would be nice if we had some more maps of the realms. It's very, very hard to pin down what the hell's going on in Age of Sigmar because the maps are just so, well, freaking random, honestly. And you had the release of the new model, Yndrasta, I'm guessing that's how you say it, the Beast Slayer. A new Celestant Prime. The Celestial Spear. Now, I'm actually okay with this. I'm okay with the model. I like the wings. I find it a little strange that the wings are more physical as opposed, like more organic, sorry. And when the original kind of Stormcastle wings are like more like lightning jutting out of their backs, making these geometric wings, which personally I prefer over this over these real feathery wings. I know what they're going for. She's an angel, you know? That's all well and good. But, I don't know, it just seems a little strange. It just seems to be a strange choice to me to go so far away from the original aesthetic, but hey-ho, it's the choice. And I do love the random squirrel. It's just, I don't know, running for its life? I don't know what's going on back there, but hey-ho. And the spear and sword are pretty cool. And the model itself is pretty awesome. I just find it odd that she's got feathery wings as opposed to the lightning ones. But different tastes aside, on the whole, it's a very pretty model. I have nothing bad really to say about it. And then we come to the new Stormcast Eternals. Now, the story behind these, if you put these next to a current Stormcast Eternal, they are far less bulky. They're far less hunched, almost. These ones stand far more upright and have more of a... Well, the armour is lighter. It appears lighter. Even for the male versions, they appear less heavy. Which, personally, as the story goes, they're wearing a new type of armour, which Grugni, who's decided to go back to the Realm of Heaven and help Sigmar make a new kind of Stormcast. This new type of armour. As souls aren't necessarily going back the way they normally do, which essentially is obviously making it harder for them to reincarnate, as Stormcast love to do. So Grugni makes this armour to essentially give them a stronger connection to the Realm of Heaven, allowing their soul to, well, dodge any of Nagash's shenanigans, or Chaos shenanigans, and allow them to return to the Realm of Heaven so they can be reforged. So this armour gives them a stronger connection to the Realm of Heaven. Hence, in theory, why it's meant to look lighter and, well, a newer design. Personally, I don't really have a big problem with this, because from little experience I have of making armour, because I've made bits and pieces from when I was a blacksmith, and I've read a ridiculous amount about armour making and all that kind of stuff. Just because the armour looks lighter does not necessarily mean it's weaker in any way, shape or form. If it is lighter, typically speaking, that's because the metal's been folded more, and it could in fact be even tougher than thick, heavy slabs of metal. And at the end of the day, no matter if you're a super soldier or not, if you can have lighter armor with the same toughness, if not greater toughness, with less weight, then you can move faster. So I'm not really against this. And the female armor is, again, it's fitting more to the female form, which is slender, which is fine. That makes sense. And the males look a bit more bulky, which again makes sense. Personally, my favourite model out of these is this guy. He, every time I look at him, I just think of the 300 Spartans. Was it Frank Miller film with 300 Spartans? I just want a line of these guys, different heads and all, just lined up, pointing their spears. Would look very, very, very cool, I think. Hopefully you can have them with different weapons, like not just spears. Hopefully you can have them with swords and two-handed hammers or hammers and shields, all that goodness. So I'm guessing those will be in the release box. And then you get this guy, an Annihilator. This is a new Paladin with a 2+ armor save for starters. So yeah, that's pretty redonkulously good armor. I mean, I like it on the whole. I'm trying to work out how his head would move. It looks like it's stuck in some kind of a socket, but I like him on the whole. He's just a really buff-looking Stormcast Eternal with a big shield. I mean, that's kind of the Stormcast Eternal's MO. Big armor, big shields. And then we get a hint for what is going on.
Three brave soldiers went to the bog. One disappeared right into the fog. Two brave soldiers went to the mire. One disappeared around the fire. One brave soldier went to the fair. None of the soldiers were heard of again.
Now, I'm guessing whatever is going on here is going to be the new enemy for the box set. My personal take on this is it's probably Skaven, although of course there are a number of other possibilities, which I'll look into in another video. But on the whole, I'm actually quite happy for a new edition of Age of Sigmar. The second edition was really, really good. I was actually really, really pleased with the second edition Age of Sigmar because the lore just got that much better. First edition was meh, in my opinion, and it was I just wasn't interested in it at the time. But once we got to second edition, and that's when I started playing because my partner Tanya was very, very keen on trying out Age of Sigmar, and from there I grew to like it. The story got much tighter. It became much more engaging, more interesting. And now that they've had this time to perfect the storytelling and actually take it in a new direction and tighten up how the worlds work in Age of Sigmar, I'm on board with this. I'm looking forward to a new edition of Age of Sigmar. So, yeah, I'm quite happy with that, honestly. And then we've got all these lovely pre-releases. So we've got plenty of vampire stuff coming out relatively soon. We've got the skeletons, the zombies, the blood knights. Got the giant fell bats. Got spaghetti hair vampire lord. Oh, I'm sorry. You've got Lucavi, Mother of Nightmares, of course. I'm so fond of blood knights that it's possible I might think about collecting a Soulblight vampire army. It would be the first undead army I've collected in... Oh no, wait, I do have my Flesh Eater courts. I've just not painted them yet. Yeah. I think on the whole, GW are doing alright. I still wish that GW would kind of... this is just the highlight reel that they've released. I still wish GW would take their finger out of their rear and actually give Xenos more love. Whilst the Orcs turning up and having their own starter box and codex is awesome, I think the Eldar and Tyranids and Tau really need to be looked at a bit. They need to at least be given something. I mean, the poor Eldar players, or the Ynnari, for example, the poor Ynnari players haven't had an update in God knows how long. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little retrospect of the new releases from Games Workshop. This is Void Dwarf Studios, signing off.